classes. Okay, we have things like camera trapping, then we'll have capture recapture process, which is nothing but comparing the photographs which have been taken, capture recapture. We'll also have the DNA samples being analyzed. ठीक है, in reserves जहां पे बहुत ही कम density होता है of the animals, what is done is whatever DNA matter they can gather, be it the scat, be it any kind of remains, some fur or something like that, nails etc. जो कुछ भी मिलता है उसका DNA fingerprinting किया जाता है. So DNA fingerprinting method is used in case of reserves which are very low density reserves. ठीक है, so camera trapping है, capture recapture process है, DNA fingerprinting. These are usually the kind of methods which are used nowadays for tiger census purpose. अगर देखा जाए तो last census, that is 2014 का census, gives a figure of around 2226 tigers to be present in India, which is around 70% of the world's wild tiger population. Getting it? So around 2226 tigers are present as per the last census. Latest census ka data we are still awaiting. Also, you have to look at which are the tiger range countries. There are 13 such tiger range countries. Again, if you go through our class notes, if you go through the material, आपको मिल जाएगा. ठीक है? And apart from that, we'll also talk about a few initiatives later on. फिलहाल के लिए just this is sufficient regarding tiger reserves. ठीक है? Yes, please. देखो जो भी है we'll try to discuss, some of them we'll try to discuss. Just let's say for example, there is particular one tiger reserve in Orissa called as Satkoshia Tiger Reserve. Anything, it was in the news. Any reason why it was in the news? Anything that you are aware of? देखो वैसे तो बहुत सारे reserves will be there in the news. जैसे कि recently we had a huge fire in Bandipur Tiger Reserve also. You may have read in the papers that huge areas of land had got burned in Bandipur Tiger Reserve. So we'll talk about that in a while, but Satkoshia Tiger Reserve, it is in Orissa. Satkosia, Satkoshia. This is in Orissa. It was in the news. Why? Because there was some relocation of tigers being done, which means that इधर का जो tiger population है, it had fallen down a great deal. Some tigers from Madhya Pradesh के sanctuaries and national parks were being put over here, especially from Kanha. Kanha Tiger Reserve से Kanha Tiger Reserve से some relocation of tiger was being done. बांधवगढ़ से भी. These are in Madhya Pradesh. So Kanha Bandhavgarh se we had some tigers being reintroduced over here or relocated over here because unka population of tigers had fallen down drastically. But after relocation again it was found within a month, I think, that tiger was killed by the poisoned by the villagers. So this keeps on happening, right? So that is the thing. Satkosia was there in the news. So we'll see कि whatever important things were there in the news, Bandipur के बारे में भी बात करेंगे. But I hope to some extent we are now aware about the Wildlife Protection Act of India and its all the dimensions. Is that understood? Now we are just coming to the next part, that is we are talking about biosphere reserves. Now what are biosphere reserves? Let us just try to understand कि what is a biosphere reserve. ये जो सारे protected areas आप देख पा रहे हो, all of them are individual protected areas, which means that one particular forest is a national park, one particular forest is a wildlife sanctuary or a tiger reserve like this. But when you have a network of protected areas, that is interconnected or contiguous reserves, एक के बाद एक contiguous reserves है, and you are trying to protect the entire network of protected areas, then I will call that entire network to be a biosphere reserve. Are you understanding? So it is not just one particular site that I am referring to. I am referring to a multiple site or referring to multiple sites which are interconnected or they are contiguous to one another. And another thing, okay, when I am talking about the protected areas, here the main objective is on conservation. Main emphasis, main focus is on conservation. On the other hand, when I am talking about the biosphere reserve, it tries to achieve three different objectives. What are the three objectives that it will try to achieve? See. Why are they set up? The three objectives that it tries to achieve are, एक तो है conservation definitely. So conservation of wildlife, conservation of nature, that is definitely one of the objectives. At the same time, when you declare an area to be a biosphere reserve, it does not mean only conservation and you are going to evict the people out of that area. No. Let's say for example, Sundarban is a biosphere reserve as well. That does not mean that entire Sundarban, udhar se sare jo villages वगैरह थे, they have been pushed out of the reserve. No. Sundarban, it actually consists of more number of villages than forest. But there are more number of villages than islands which are covered with, or there are more number of islands which are covered with villages or have villages in them rather than forests. Okay, so understand one thing, when I am declaring an area to be a biosphere reserve, it does not mean the only emphasis is on conservation. At the same time, you will also put emphasis on the sustainable development exactly. Sustainable development of communities can also take place, which means that if the villagers are doing agriculture, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि they will be pushed out. No, they will also be allowed to do agriculture, at the same time ensuring that it is sustainable in nature. You cannot establish something like a thermal power plant or something like this, or a discotheque near to, no, that is not possible. But if you are doing agriculture, etc., that is allowed. So, conservation, sustainable development, and the third thing is research, development, education. So, to understand the kind of relationship between these components, you can have research, development, education taking place, that is allowed. So, there are three major objectives that biosphere reserves will try to achieve. Is that understood? Education means that if somebody, basically by education I meant to say studies and all. If somebody wants to study some wildlife over there, or they want to study the impact of human activities on wildlife, all that will be allowed to be done in case of. So, all these things are what is allowed in case of a biosphere reserve. If I look at biosphere reserves, what is the structure of biosphere reserve? देखो, a biosphere reserve will have a three-layered structure. The innermost layer is called as, very good, core. And this core area is specifically kept for conservation. Are you understanding this? So, when I am saying the core of a biosphere reserve is specifically kept for conservation, not for sustainable development, etc., there is no human activity allowed, then what kind of a protected area will be there at the core of a biosphere reserve? A national park will be there at the core of a biosphere reserve. Did you understand? The core of a biosphere reserve is usually a national park, and it is usually kept free of human disturbance. So, when I say Sundarban biosphere reserve, inside the Sundarban biosphere reserve you will have the Sundarban national park also. That is where there is no human activity, no honey collection, there is no kind of fishing or extraction of wood, nothing is allowed. But that does not mean honey collection has been completely stopped. That is allowed, but not at the national park area. You have, there are other wildlife sanctuaries also, Sajnikali Wildlife Sanctuary, all these are present over there. So, try to understand the core of a biosphere reserve is a national park. Uske bahar we have what? The buffer zone. The buffer zone or the buffer. Buffer is kept like a cushion. Basically, whatever are the impacts of human activities happening outside should not come and threaten the animals which are there at the core, or the wildlife or nature which is being protected at the core. So that is, it acts like a cushion. Are you understanding? So outside of the core area we have the buffer area. Buffer area mein what are allowed? Things like, let's say, research, education, that can be allowed, or you can have things like ecotourism. That is one very important activity allowed in buffer area. When I say ecotourism, aap jab jate ho, when you go to some national park, wildlife sanctuary, and you go for jeep safaris and all, what you are going in, it's usually the buffer area where you are allowed to go. Getting it? So if you go to Sundarbans, the area where you will be allowed to go to is the buffer area. You won't be allowed in the core area. उसके बाहर भी एक area है called as transition zone. Very good. So you have core, buffer, and then transition zone. What does this transition zone imply? It implies a transition from a more protected area to an area having much lesser protection. मतलब transition zone में you can actually have schools, colleges, etc. also. You can have agricultural fields. All this is allowed. So there can be educational institutions like school, colleges, but that won't be stopped over here. Okay. So transition zone, basically it implies that a transition is taking place from a more protected area to a much lesser, to an area of having much lesser protection. Is that understood? So this is regarding biosphere reserves. Now we have something called as, देखो, Indian government तो खुद से they will declare biosphere reserves. But then again, internationally on the global stage, if we see, then we have something called as the World Network of Biosphere Reserves also. World Network of Biosphere Reserves जो है, that basically talks about those biosphere reserves which are internationally important because of their ecological significance. So we get to see that under UNESCO has a global initiative called as, is there some initiative regarding biosphere reserves? Man and Biosphere Reserve, right? Under UNESCO's Man and Biosphere Program, which we call as MAB, under UNESCO's Man and Biosphere Program, which is called as MAB, today we have 686, again the number will keep on changing, 686 biosphere reserves which have been established in 122 countries. Biosphere reserves which have been established in 122 countries, and these sites, they form the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Okay. So around the world, UNESCO has selected 686 such sites comprising over 122 countries, which will be included under the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Is that understood? So naturally in India, how many do we have? How many do we have? Totally? Okay. A lot of confusion here. So in India, the government has declared 18 biosphere reserves. We have 18 biosphere reserves which have been declared by the government of India, and out of this 18 biosphere reserves, we get to see that 11 have been selected by UNESCO under its MAB program. Are you clear about this? Are you clear about this? Out of the 18 biosphere reserves which have been declared by the government of India, out of that we get to see 11 have been selected by UNESCO to be a part of its Man and Biosphere program. So now when I was asking you why this particular biosphere reserve was in the news, Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, this is why it was in the news, because it was the 11th biosphere reserve from India to have been selected by UNESCO under its Man and Biosphere program. Did you get this now? It was the 11th Biosphere Reserve, that is Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve. Now, let me try to answer your other doubts regarding this. Now, I'll talk about Kanchenjunga in a while, just one more thing before that. Talking about India specifically. India में अभी हम लोगों ने जाना कि there are 18 biosphere reserves in India. Which is the very first one? Nilgiri. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, it is the very first one to be declared in India. कब declare किया गया था? Around 1986. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve was declared. First biosphere reserve to be declared in India is the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, for your information, it will also contain the highest population of wild tigers anywhere in the world, also Asiatic elephants. Highest population of wild tigers, Asiatic elephants anywhere in the world is found over here in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. When I am talking about a biosphere reserve, you can understand that I am talking about a network of protected area, not only talking about one particular protected area. So we will talk about, देखो Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, if I am saying, then it definitely should have a few component protected areas which are under it. तभी जाके that entire network को मैं बोल सकता हूँ as Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. So you will get to see that it will have components like the Bandipur Tiger Reserve, which is present in Karnataka, and this was in the news because there was a huge fire. Ultimately, the Indian Air Force had to be brought in, and the choppers from the Indian Air Force, they sprayed water, tab jaake ye fire could be controlled this year. So Bandipur Tiger Reserve in Karnataka will have the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. These are also national parks as well. Okay? Mudumalai Tiger Reserve, it is in Tamil Nadu. We'll have the Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary in Kerala. It is not a tiger reserve, despite of having one of the highest number of tigers, over 80 tigers, still it is not a tiger reserve. Okay? It is a wildlife sanctuary. We will have the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, also called as Rajiv Gandhi National Park. This particular one is in Karnataka. We'll also have the Silent Valley. Where is Silent Valley? Kerala. Periyar is separate. Periyar Tiger Reserve. It's way down. It is also there as a part of the entire Western Ghats, but not a part of this Nilgiri as such. Okay. Silent Valley is called as Silent Valley because, why is it called as Silent Valley? Because it is silent, but you will get to see. No, because what will happen is if you go to a forest during the night, definitely you will get to hear a chirping sound. So this type of a sound, continuous kind of a sound, is created by a particular type of insect. It is called as a cicada. अब ये cicada जो है, it is absent over here. That is why it is called as Silent Valley. ठीक है? Cicada is a type of insect which is absent over here in this. इसीलिए इसको Silent Valley National Park कहा जाता है. It is also famous Silent Valley because of the movement, Safe Silent Valley movement. जैसे कि you have this Narmada Bachao Andolan, which was because of which dam? Any dam that was there, जिसको लेके इतना ज़्यादा unrest हुआ था? What was that? Sardar Sarovar Dam. तो उसको लेके there was a lot of agitation. You had social activists like Medha Patkar heading the movement. So that was regarding Narmada Bachao Andolan. But similar kind of a anti-dam movement we also got to see over here in Silent Valley, called as Safe Silent Valley movement. And ये इसलिए हुआ था because a dam was proposed over here Which river flows through this particular area? Just know this. We have a particular river which flows through this called as Kunti Puza. Kerala was also in the news this year for multiple reasons. This is in Kerala. तो थोड़ा सा केरला के रिजर्व्स के बारे में भी जान के रखो. कुंती पूजा रिवर. कुंती पूजा, it is a tributary of the Bharat Puja river. Bharat Puja is one among the rivers which arises from the Western Ghats and flows to the west. Most of the rivers which arise from the Western Ghats, they are and flows to the west, they are short rivers, right? So one among them is this Bharat Puja. Periyar river is also there, and Bharat Puja ka hi ek tributary is the Kunti Puja. Kunti Puja flows through this Silent Valley National Park. Silent Valley National Park is also important. Silent Valley National Park is also important for two endemic species which are found over here. Or rather, one is more important over here. Another endemic species found in the entire Western Ghats. एक नाम इधर जान के रख दो. Silent Valley is known for the LTM or the lion-tailed macaque. It is a endemic species to the Western Ghats, lion-tailed macaque. It is a monkey, ape, lion-tailed macaque. You will see कि उसका जो tail है, tail का end is it looks like that of a lion. And also the manes, yes. Black in color, it is under threat because it does not usually live close to the proximity of human beings. It is arboreal in nature. तो उनके जो habitat है उसको destroy करके plantations बनाया जा रहा है. And they usually do not love to live in plantations, unlike other animals. आप देखोगे कि elephants they can be found in the plantations also. But this lion-tailed macaque, its habitat is under a lot of threat because that is being destroyed, and you have a lot of plantations being created over here. Similarly, Western Ghat is important for a variety of reasons. ये जो नीलगिरी Biosphere Reserve है, it is there on the Western Ghats, so it is important for a variety of reasons. LTM एक हो गया, आपको पता होगा नीलगिरी तार, again always in the news, नीलगिरी तार. It is an endemic species. कभी कभी ऐसे क्वेश्चंस भी आते हैं जहां पे you are given two columns. एक column पे you are given the protected area, and the other column you will have number of species given, and you have to match के which protected area is famous for which particular species. ऐसा questions भी आते हैं. या तो you can have one column जहां पे you have been given the names of various protected areas, and in the other column you have been given some associated river or some associated mountain range, और आपको ऐसे match करना है कि which river flows through which protected area. Such kind of questions can also come. So when I talk about the Nilgiri Tar, a particular protected area is there which is famous for it. It is called as Eravikulam. Eravikulam National Park. This is present in Kerala. Okay? Eravikulam National Park, that is present in Kerala. It is also famous, this Eravikulam area, it is also famous for having the highest peak of the Western Ghats, called as the Anaimudi, 2695 meters tall. Anaimudi, it is the highest peak of the Western Ghats. 2695 meters, it is the height of the Anaimudi peak. Second highest peak कौन सा है Western Ghats का? Hello, Dutta Betta, 95 meters. ठीक है? अच्छा, what नीलगिरी बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व के बारे में भी थोड़ा सा बात कर लेते हैं. What else do we know? This year 2018 was the year when we had the flowering of the Neela Kurinji flower. Neela Kurinji. It is a shrub, and its life cycle भी 12 years का ही होता है. It will flower only once in 12 years. 2018 was a year when there was this mass flowering of the Neela Kurinji. The name Nilgiri It is derived from this Neelakurinji only, because Nilgiri का literal meaning क्या है? The blue mountains. And when this Neelakurinji shrub, it will flower, जब इसका mass flowering होता है, तब देख के लगता है कि entire western Ghat has been covered with a blue carpet, or a pura carpet of blue. And that is why the name Nilgiri derives its name from the flowering of the Neelakurinji flower. Understood? So Neelakurinji is another very important topic for this year, because again Kerala was in the news for multiple reasons. और एक चीज, केरला was, अच्छा नीलाकुरिंजी को लेके पहले खत्म कर लेते हैं. नीलाकुरिंजी जो है, इसका साइंटिफिक नेम क्या है? स्ट्रॉबिलैंथस, STROBI, स्ट्रॉबिलैंथस कुंथियानस. Strobilanthes kunthianus is the scientific name. Let's say Neelakurinji को लेके एक question आता है. Maybe regarding Neelakurinji, mark out which is correct or incorrect, and they will give you 5 statements. Its scientific name is this, one of the statements. अब अगर आपको पता है नहीं, तो it will be difficult for you at that point of time to understand कि उसको क्या करूँ. Strobilanthes kunthianus is the name. Next, Neelakurinji को लेके, it is very very important for the people of Kerala, because it is not just a shrub for them, it is a part of their culture itself. So, एक तो है, it is of ecological importance. Ecological importance. Why? Because it helps in pollination of the other plants as well. Because you will have, when the pura ऐसे mass flowering होता है, then you will have huge number of butterflies, and you will have honeybees and all these other pollinators coming in huge numbers. Not only this Neelakurinji, but also the other plants also get pollinated in the process. So एक तो है pollination के लिए, that is the ecological importance. Next, cultural importance we have already seen. It is a part of the culture of Kerala itself. Also you can talk about the economic importance of Neelakurinji, because when there is this mass flowering, it generates huge amount of revenue from ecotourism. So people from across the world come to Kerala just to witness the flowering of the Neelakurinji. So there are multiple importances of this, ecological kaho, ya to cultural kaho, ya to economic importance kaho. So this is very very important for this year's prelims. ठीक है, नीलाकुरिंजी. नीलाकुरिंजी को लेके और एक चीज जान के रखो कि इंडिया में ऐसे बहुत सारे ट्राइब्स वी गेट टू सी. एक चीज समझो कि wherever you will have, especially in India, जहां पे भी forest cover will be high, you will definitely get to see some amount of tribal presence over there. इंडिया में अगर forest cover देखा जाए, तो in which areas or which states of India is forest cover very high? Let's say, can I say that the northeastern portion is an area जहां पे you'll have high forest cover, and hence you will get to see a huge number of tribal or tribes will be living over there. Monpa, Garo, Mishmi, Nishi, Naga, Khasi, all these different tribes will be there. Similarly, look at the central Indian part, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh area having high amount of tribes living. Similarly, if you look at, let's say, the Western Ghat area, over there also you will have high number of tribes. Similarly, if I look at Andaman Nicobar, again you will get very high tribal presence over there. Most of the tribes in Andaman Nicobar are of Negrito origin, which is very rare. Negrito origin means what? These people, ये चीज जान के रखो, क्योंकि in Andaman Nicobar we also saw that tribes were in the news. Why? Somebody wanted to bring Jesus to the tribes of Andaman Nicobar, and they sent him only. So that's something which took place in Andaman Nicobar, that there was this American missionary who had come over there after violating all rules that are there, because one particular island is there called as North Sentinel Island, which is considered to be among the most remote parts in the world. Why? Because har baar Indian government and usse pehle Britishers, they had also tried to establish contact. These people, they do not want to be contacted, and they are among the uncontacted tribes. Very few of them are there. These are the last tribes which are still in the Stone Age. Can you imagine a tribe living in a time wrap like a time bubble, where the entire world has progressed forward? They still do not know that there is something called as India. They are still living in the Stone Age. This is among the last tribe, and hence it is very necessary to protect these tribes. So the Indian Navy has established a perimeter around them, जिसके अंदर they do not allow anybody to go, but this particular person, he had violated all rules, bribed the local fishermen, and then he had gone in to spread Christianity, and then जो भी होना था वही हुआ. So this is something which is, so that is why you should study a little bit in details regarding the Sentinelese tribe, North Sentinel Islands, Andaman Nicobar. Andaman Nicobar का position आप देखो, मतलब though I am talking about this थोड़ा सा बोल रहा हूँ because Andaman Nicobar is also very famous for its biodiversity. Narcodam horn which is very important in Andaman Nicobar, because over there the Navy is establishing a base, Narcodam hornbill, a bird species, on the Narcodam Islands of Andamans. Okay? Narcodam, Narcodam. Anyway, now coming back to our Neelakurinji again. Why I mentioned Andaman Nicobar? Ek to tha because of this news what was there in the papers. Apart from that, you know, in Andaman Nicobar you will have tribes like the Great Andamanese, you will have tribes like the Ongis, you will have tribes like the Jaroas, North Sentinel Islands or the Sentinelese. ये जो सारे tribes है, they are having Negrito origin. और ये सोचा जाता है कि these people, they are the descendants of the very first people who had migrated out of Africa and come to India. Understood? But such kind of Negrito origin tribes, apart from Andaman, we get to see a few tribes over here in the Western Ghats also. आपको थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा focus देना है on the Negrito origin tribes because they are less in number. बाकी different racial origin के tribes बहुत है, but Negrito origin tribes in India, they are very few. So I believe that something you are aware about something called as PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Okay? So I'm not going into that, but for the time being, talking about the Negrito origin tribes, India में काफी कम है, but you get to see them in Andamans, we get to see them even in the Western Ghats area. Two such tribes which live in the Western Ghats which are of Negrito origin, जान के रखो नाम, एक है टोडा tribe, एक है पालियन ट्राइब. टू इंपॉर्टेंट ट्राइब्स, वैसे तो और भी है, बट वेस्टर्न घाट में आप ये दोनों का नाम जान के रखो, टोडा ट्राइब, पालियन ट्राइब. देयर इज आल्सो सम ट्राइब कॉल्ड एज इरूला ट्राइब एज वेल, who are very famous for their snake catching abilities. Anyway, we are focusing right now on this Toda tribe, Palian tribe. These are also of Negrito origin, they live in the Western Ghats. ये जो Palian tribe है, they have a very intimate relationship with this Neelakurinji. Why? Because they calculate their age with respect to the flowering of the Neelakurinji. Are you understanding this? So this is what they consider to be the yardstick. So the flowering of the Neelakurinji, that is how they calculate their own age as well. Clear? Okay. So regarding Neelakurinji, I have talked about. Then अच्छा, थोड़ा सा इधर और एक चीज बता देता हूँ. इन द वेस्टर्न घाट्स सबरीमाला वाज देयर इन द न्यूज फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ रीजंस. सो सबरीमाला पूरा जो कंट्रोवर्सी है उसको तो आपको पढ़ना ही है, बट माय पॉइंट इज आई विल टॉक अबाउट द एनवायरनमेंट पर्सपेक्टिव. सो सबरीमाला का एक एनवायरमेंटल पर्सपेक्टिव भी है, बिकॉज दिस पर्टिकुलर टेम्पल लाइज विद इन सम प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया. विच प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया? डू यू नो दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर टेम्पल, जहां पे ये पूरा कंट्रोवर्सी चल रही थी, so that particular temple lies within a particular protected area. Are you aware about the name? You are mentioning that, no? Somebody. Periyar Tiger Reserve. Periyar Tiger Reserve. So सबरीमाला टॉपिक अगर आप कवर कर रहे हो तो उसका हर एक चीज आप कवर करो. Whenever कोई भी टॉपिक, any subject you are talking about, please try to understand it from all the perspective. सबरीमाला का एक पॉलिटी रिलेटेड एस्पेक्ट तो है ही, but at the same time all these ancient shrines जो होते हैं, they are usually situated deep into the forest. That is where the वो जो सन्यासी लोग होते थे, they used to live over there only. So ये जो पेरियर टाइगर रिजर्व है, this is where inside of the Periyar Tiger Reserve you have the Sabrimala. ठीक है? So over there, Periyar Tiger Reserve, it is beside the river Periyar. Periyar Tiger Reserve is one among the very first tiger reserves of Project Tiger. ठीक है? Periyar Tiger Reserve is known for its elephant population. सबरीमाला को लेके अभी तो आप लोग जान रहे हो, but सबरीमाला को लेके earlier also there was a controversy because of this huge amount of tourists, pilgrims who go there every year, considered to be among the highest across the world. So what they used to do is that they used to throw plastic all around. One elephant had died just, मतलब after it had died, जब वो postmortem चल रहा था तब देखा गया कि it had consumed plastic which had like accumulated in a huge ball inside its stomach. उसके बाद से over there are hoardings that you are not supposed to throw plastic here and there. ठीक है? So Periyar Tiger Reserve, it is known for the river Periyar as well as elephants, and अभी जाके it is also known for Sabrimala also. ठीक है? अच्छा. Coming back to our topic, Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve was the very first one, and we have seen the components of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. उससे पहले, मतलब last year we had the 11th Biosphere Reserve recognized from India, but before that the 10th Biosphere Reserve which was recognized, that was also from the Western Ghats area only. And that is what is called as the Agastya Malai. This was India's 10th entry to UNESCO's MAB or the Man and Biosphere program में India का 10th entry था Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve, situated between the Kerala Tamil Nadu border. Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve. और ये जो Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve है, it consists of various components like Neyar Wildlife Sanctuary, Peppara Wildlife Sanctuary, Shendurne, Peppara, Neyar, Shendurne Wildlife Sanctuary, Kalakad, Mudunturai, Tiger Reserve. These were the components of Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve, which was the 10th entry from India into the world network of biosphere reserves. Okay, so this is regarding the Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve. What was the last thing that we had talked about? Agastya Malai ke different parts we had seen. Talked about Neelakurinji, we had also talked about Western Ghats and why Western Ghats is important. Achha, another thing that you should know about Western Ghats is that, are you aware about something called as biodiversity hotspots? Biodiversity hotspots, what are those? Biodiversity hotspots, तो आप नाम सुन के ही समझ सकते हो कि biodiversity hotspot will be an area which will have very rich biodiversity. So just like we have Wi-Fi hotspot where the signal is very strong, similarly we will also have certain areas around the world which are recognized as biodiversity hotspots, right? तो ये biodiversity hotspots जो होते हैं, around the world we have around 35 biodiversity hotspots, and the Western Ghat is one among them. You are aware about that? How many biodiversity hotspots are there in India? How many biodiversity hotspots are there in India? Any idea? 4. Which are those? Himalaya. Is the entire Himalaya a biodiversity hotspot? Eastern Himalaya. So just know this, कि Eastern Himalaya. Achha, what else? Western Ghats, okay. The Western Ghats, actually, if you look at the entry in that list of biodiversity hotspots, then it is mentioned as Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. But anyway, Sri Lanka is not within India, so we are just considering that part which is in India. So it is Western Ghats. What else? 3. Another is the Indo-Burma region. The Indo-Burma region is another biodiversity hotspot that we have in India. What else? देखो और एक एरिया भी है, that is the Andaman Nicobar Islands. But this Andaman Nicobar Island by itself is not a biodiversity hotspot, but it is actually one component of a much larger biodiversity hotspot that we have, जिसका नाम है Sundaland biodiversity hotspot. So उसमें one part is Andaman Nicobar, one of the component of the Sundaland biodiversity hotspot is Andaman Nicobar. बाकी उसको छोड़ के भी we have other countries also, Southeast Asian countries are there. ठीक है, so India में we have 4 biodiversity hotspots. These are the 4 biodiversity hotspot. कब declare किया जाता है? What are the criterias? Who declares biodiversity hotspot? Anything that you remember? A particular group, मैंने कहा था इनका नाम थोड़ा सा याद रखो. It is called as Conservation International. Please read up on this particular body, Conservation International. ठीक है? This is one thing. अच्छा, regarding biosphere reserves, थोड़ा सा और एक बात बताना था. Regarding biosphere reserve, Spain is the country which has the maximum number of biosphere reserves. Spain, it is the country which has the maximum number of biosphere reserves. Coming back to our biodiversity hotspot, so what are the criteria a particular area should fulfill to be called as a biodiversity hotspot? Anything that you remember? There are how many criteria? Do you remember? One is, so there are 2 criteria for a particular area to be declared as a biodiversity hotspot. उनमें से एक होगा species richness, एक है स्पीशी का richness, और दूसरा जो पैरामीटर है that is endemicity, और तीसरा जो पैरामीटर है that is threat perception. ये तीनों क्राइटेरियाज if a particular area fulfills, तब जाके we will call that area to be a biodiversity hotspot. But we need some figures, नहीं तो हम लोग कैसे समझ में आएगा कि how much threat, how much richness has to be there. Let's try to understand. If I take these two into consideration, इन दोनों parameters को अगर मैं साथ में लेता हूँ, then we will get to see that that particular area, जिसको मैं biodiversity hotspot कह सकता हूँ, that particular area should support greater than 0.5%, greater than 0.5% of the total population of vascular plants in the world. What do we understand by the term vascular plants? I'll repeat. एक तो है species richness or endemicity, but how do I understand how much rich or what should be the endemicity for a particular area to be declared as a biodiversity hotspot? That particular area should support greater than 0.5% of the total population of vascular plant species in the world. Vascular plant signifies those plant species which can or which have things like the xylem and the phloem vessels. तो ऐसे plants को हम लोग vascular plants बोल सकते हैं. It should have xylem and phloem vessels. So if I look at a area having greater than 0.5% of the total population of vascular plants in the world, the number comes out to be around 1500 species. इतने सारे species होने चाहिए as endemic. This is one of the criteria for a particular spot to be declared as a biodiversity hotspot. It should support greater than 0.5% of the total population of vascular plants in the world, coming out to be around 1500 species as endemics. ये तो गया regarding the species richness and endemicity. Second is the threat perception. How much threat perception? The area should have lost greater than equal to 70% of the original vegetation. So you can understand, if an area has lost a huge percentage of its original vegetation, then and it is also very biologically rich area, then definitely there is a need to protect that area. That is why it is given this term of a biodiversity hotspot. So two criteria, kindly remember these two criteria, which is the body. Conservation International is the body. Okay. Now out of the 35 biodiversity hotspots that we have across the world, there are 8 out of those 35, there are 8 which are considered as hottest hotspots of biodiversity, which means those तो are already biodiversity hotspots, but out of that there are 8 which are extremely biodiverse, more than the rest. Out of that 8 hottest hotspots of biodiversity, Western Ghat is one among them. Are you understanding? The Western Ghat is one among the 8 hottest hotspots of biodiversity. So coming back to our Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, देखो कुछ answers I got regarding Kanchenjunga. Why it was in the news? I hope now it is clear why it was in the news. It was in the news because it was included as 11th entry from India into the World Network of Biosphere. Next you should know, ये जो कांचनजंगा बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व है, और एक आंसर मुझे मिल रहा था, समथिंग रिगार्डिंग मिक्स्ड साइट और समथिंग लाइक दिस, नो? यस, विल टॉक अबाउट दिस, थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बात करते हैं. देखो एक चीज तो अब हम लोगों को क्लियर है कि बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व जब होता है, देयर आर 3 सच zones that we have: core, buffer and then transition zone. So understand one thing कि बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व, if I am saying, इसका जो कोर जोन होगा, naturally it is the national park. So what is that national park? That is the Kanchenjunga National Park. So at the core of the Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, we have the Kanchenjunga National Park present. And this national park that we have at the core of the Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, that is an example of a mixed heritage site. So please try to understand the difference between these. I can say, put it like this: mixed world heritage site. Are you understanding this? और ये कब डिक्लेयर किया गया था? देखो थोड़ा सा अगर बात करें about the who mixed about the world heritage sites, तो who declares the world heritage sites? Who declares world heritage sites? UNESCO will declare. UNESCO declares this world heritage sites by a convention which had taken place in the year 1972 में एक convention हुआ था, उस basis पे they declare the world heritage sites. अच्छा, world heritage sites can be of how many types? You can have the natural world heritage sites. You can have the natural world heritage sites, or you can have a world heritage site because of its, we can declare an area to be a world heritage site because of its historical and cultural significance also. Such kind of heritage sites को हम लोग कहेंगे as cultural heritage sites. And then we can have certain areas which will have both natural significance as well as cultural significance. Those we can call it to be mixed heritage site. ठीक है? So 3 categories of heritage sites are there. एक है natural, एक है cultural और तीसरा है mixed heritage site. If I see specifically India, अगर इंडिया में देखा जाए तो how many world heritage sites are there in India? How many World Heritage Sites are there in India? Any idea? 37, very good. 37 World Heritage Sites are there. And again, it is important in this year's prelims. Why? Because the 37th one was also announced last year. So 37th one is which one? Whether it is a natural, mixed or a cultural heritage site. 37th World Heritage Site in India. Is it a natural site? Is it a cultural site? Or is it a mixed site? Any idea? It is a natural. No, it's not a natural. Cultural. Okay, if it is cultural, then which one? थोड़ा सा और? Yes. 37. Please read up on this. It's not. It's there in your culture part. तो इसके लिए आपको पढ़ लेना होगा कि you have this Gothic and Art Deco. These are two architectural traditions. ठीक है? Gothic and Art Deco ensembles of Mumbai. This was declared as the 37th World Heritage Site in India. Gothic and Art Deco. ये दोनों traditions है. Gothic and Art Deco. Art Deco उसको modern style भी कहा जाता है, which had originated in France before the First World War. So I'm not going into that aspect, but there are a set of 94 buildings in Mumbai which together make up this 37th World Heritage Site, and which is a cultural heritage site in India. Okay? So please read up on this. What is this Gothic style? What is this Art Deco? What kind of buildings are included? जैसे कि you will get to see that the Chhatrapati Shivaji railway terminus, that also has this combination of two different architectural traditions in its entire structure. Okay? So ऐसे 94 buildings have been included around that Marine Drive area. Anyway, coming back to our thing, okay, on the whole, we have 37 World Heritage Sites in India which have been declared by UNESCO. अगर देखा जाए in terms of numbers, then we have 7 natural World Heritage Sites in India. We have 29 cultural heritage sites in India, and remaining कितना रहा? 1. So we have 1 mixed heritage site in India. ये जो 1 mixed heritage site, that is the Kanchenjunga National Park. National Park, it is a core area of the Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve. और ये Biosphere Reserve भी 2018 में it was included, or it is there in our examination that it was included as a part of the Man and Biosphere program. Is that understood? ये सारे, all of these things were in the news. Now my question to you is this, कि एक national park, अगर if I declare a national park, तो naturally that particular area should have ecological importance, natural importance, that is understood. Question is, इसका cultural importance कहाँ से आ गया? एक चीज समझो कि ये जो World Heritage Site declare किया गया था, that was done in the year 2016 कि mixed World Heritage Site इसको declare किया गया था. Question is, इसका where did this cultural aspect come into this? तो just थोड़ा सा जान के रखो कि we know that it is important from the ecological point of view, but from the natural from the cultural point of view, why it is important is because एक हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि the concept of बेयूल or hidden sacred land. What is this? तो इसको समझते हैं. Entire सिक्किम जो है, देखो उधर एक particular type of religious tradition है which we call to be Tibetan Buddhism. Like different areas are there which are considered to be the origin or the source of a particular religion. Similarly हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि this Kanchenjunga and even the entire Sikkim, it is considered to be the बेयूल. इसको बेयूल सोचा जाता है, or it is, that is hidden sacred land. The entire state of Sikkim is considered to be a hidden sacred land by the religious tradition which has its home over there. Which is this religious tradition? It is Tibetan Buddhism. So why it is important culturally is because it is the home, or it is the point of origin for the Tibetan Buddhism religion, which is not only confined to India. ऐसा नहीं कि it is only confined to India, but it extends across Indian border also. One of the major religious traditions Maybe not as big as Hinduism, Islam or Christianity, but also it's a major religious tradition and it has its home in Sikkim. And within Sikkim also, especially the Kanchenjunga National Park. Why it is called as hidden sacred land? क्योंकि ऐसा सोचा जाता है कि between ये जो entire Sikkim area, it is hidden between the ranges of the Himalayas, so it is called as Beul in the tradition, religious tradition. So first point is the cultural aspect is this. Second cultural aspect, why it is culturally important, is because you will see that various sites across the world are a home not only to one particular religious tradition but to multiple. Let's say Jerusalem is one such area which is considered sacred not just by one religion but by multiple religions, and there will be some amount of conflict sometimes. This area on the other hand is considered to be sacred not only by the people who follow Tibetan Buddhism, but even by other people, like you will have the Lepchas, which is another religious tradition over here, local faith, Lepcha, and they call it by another term, Mael Leang. So again, what this means is that in the Lepcha tradition also this Kanchenjunga National Park is considered to be very sacred. But despite of various religions considering the same area to be important for their religion, there is no conflict, there is peaceful coexistence between all these different religious traditions. And that is another culturally important aspect of the Kanchenjunga National Park. Are you understanding this? It is the peaceful coexistence. Different faiths, like between the Tibetan Buddhists and between the Lepchas who consider it to be, they are also sacred land, like Mael Liang, that is what they call it, Mael Lyang. So Beul, Mael Liang, all of them refer to the same thing. Third importance of this, third cultural importance of this Kanchenjunga National Park. Third cultural importance is this. Okay, the local traditions, for example, the Lepcha tradition. In the tradition itself, they talk about the conservation of plants, conservation of the local diversity. So this kind of interrelationship between the faiths of the area and protection of local biodiversity, especially plant biodiversity, animal biodiversity, etc., that itself is another cultural importance of this particular area. Matlab, the traditions, the local culture itself instructs the people who follow that particular faith will have to protect the biodiversity of this area. And this particular coexistence, again you can say, or so the people over there, they become natural protectors of the area's biodiversity. They consider it to be a part of their religion itself, a part of their faith itself to protect the biodiversity of that area. So you can talk about biodiversity, preservation as a part of religious tradition. तो ये भी एक इसका इम्पोर्टेंस है. अच्छा, ये जो there are 9 World Heritage Sites, that is there are 7 Natural World Heritage Sites in India. कौन कौन से है ये नाम जान के रख दो. Which are the 7 World Heritage Sites in India? Number 1, the Great Himalayan National Park. The Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh. The Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh. Next, the Kaziranga National Park कहाँ पे है? Assam. Kaziranga National Park in Assam. Manas, M-A-N-A-S, Manas National Park. Where is that? Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, Assam. Manas is in Assam. Manas Wildlife Sanctuary or Manas Tiger Reserve, it is in Assam. Next, are you aware about Keoladeo Ghana. Keoladeo Ghana. It's a national park. Okay. It is also a natural world heritage site. Keoladeo Ghana, where is it? Rajasthan. Keoladeo Ghana, it is in Rajasthan. It is a national park. It is also a natural world heritage site. It is also a Ramsar site. What is a Ramsar site? R-A-M-S-A-R. Ramsar site क्या होता है? When a site, okay, in the year 1971. 1971 में there was this convention which was signed in the city of Ramsar in Iran. ये जो convention है that is called as Ramsar Convention because the city जहां पे इसको साइन किया गया था that was Iran, in Iran by the city, name of the city was Ramsar. So if a site is declared to be a Ramsar site, what does that signify? देखो Ramsar sites are always wetlands. ठीक है, Ramsar sites can only be wetlands. If a particular area is declared as a Ramsar site, it signifies that it is a wetland of international importance. Are you understanding? A Ramsar site classification अगर दिया जाता है तो it means it is a wetland of international importance. ठीक है, India में how many Ramsar sites do we have? We have 26 Ramsar sites in India. The 27th one is supposed to be the Sundarban Reserve Forest in the process. But 26 Ramsar sites are there in India. In India, we have 26 Ramsar sites. ठीक है? Around the world अगर देखा जाए, it is the UK which has the highest number of Ramsar sites. It is the UK which has the highest number of Ramsar sites. If I see which country has the highest area under Ramsar site globally, it is Bolivia in South America. Bolivia in South America will have the highest area under Ramsar sites. ठीक है? If an area or if a Ramsar site, so India में हम लोगों ने already देख लिया है कि there are this 26 number of Ramsar sites. Now, if a Ramsar site is facing threat or can face threat in the future, then it is included under another particular list which is maintained under the Ramsar Convention. Ramsar Convention के नीचे ही और एक list भी maintain किया जाता है, which basically talks about all those Ramsar sites which are facing threat or they can face threat in the future. ऐसे Ramsar sites which are being threatened, because you can understand that they are ecologically very important and these are called as wetlands of international importance. So naturally, if a Ramsar site is facing threat or it can face threat because of anthropogenic activities or even by natural activities also, then that Ramsar site is included under a particular list which is called as, anybody? It is called as the Montrex record. It is called as Montrex record. See, I am giving you all the different type of topics around this. So we talked about Wildlife Protection Act, we talked about so many things. We are just discussing a bit, revising a bit about the Ramsar also. Montrex record, it is a list of all those Ramsar sites which are threatened or can be threatened because of all these reasons. Anthropogenic भी हो सकता है या तो natural भी हो सकता है. So ये जो Keoladeo Ghana है, it is a Ramsar site in India which is maintained under the Montrex record, which means that it is a site which is threatened. So from India, how many Ramsar sites are there under the Montrex record? Any idea? From India, how many Ramsar sites are there included under the Montrex record? From India, we used to have 3 earlier. पहले 3 हुआ करता था. Right now we have 2. One is this Keoladeo Ghana National Park. The other is, anybody? Have you come across this name? Loktak Lake. Loktak Lake. Where is this? Manipur. Okay. Loktak Lake in Manipur, that is the next, another of our Ramsar site which is under the Montreux record. Third one which used to be earlier there, that is Chilika Lake, but it is no longer there. Right now it has been taken out of the Montreux record. From India we have two Ramsar sites which are still under the Montreux record. Understood? Okay. Anyway, continuing with that, Keoladeo Ghana National Park, that is another natural world heritage site. Then we have Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers. Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers National Park. Where is this? Uttarakhand. Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers National Park. This is in Uttarakhand. Next, the Sundarbans National Park. Where is this? Of course, West Bengal. Next, the Western Ghats. Did we get seven world natural heritage sites in India? So ये जो Western Ghats है, where does it stretch from? कहाँ से इसका शुरुआत होता है? It starts from the southern part of Gujarat itself. So Gujarat, then Maharashtra, then Goa, then Karnataka, then Kerala, then Tamil Nadu. This entire stretch will be covered by the Western Ghats. Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. Coming back to our Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve. Now we understood कि इसका जो interior part है, it is or the core area, that is called as the Kanchenjunga National Park. अच्छा, Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve में हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि इसका जो total area है, right on the total area, it is 2000, just have some idea, 2900 square kilometers. तो अगर question में आता है around 3000 square kilometer, that is also true. 2900 something square kilometer. That is the total area of this Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve. Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, it occupies almost 41% of the geographic area of Sikkim. Sikkim का पूरा जो geographic area है उसका 41% itself is covered by this Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve. ठीक है? Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve will definitely contain the world's third tallest peak. Kanchenjunga. World's third tallest peak, that is Kanchenjunga. It is India's highest biosphere reserve in terms of altitude. अगर देखा जाए, India का highest biosphere reserve is Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, and it is also one of the world's highest ecosystems. Okay? So it is India's highest biosphere reserve. It is also one of the world's highest in terms of altitude ecosystems. If we look at Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, over here, mainly it is seen that 86% of the vegetation is alpine. Alpine vegetation का मतलब आपको समझ में आ रहा है कि most of the area is covered by snow and ice, and naturally the grasses will be short. You will have short grasses, you will have moss-like plants. ठीक है? So you will have alpine vegetation like alpine grasslands, ऐसे सारी चीजें होंगी. Plus you will also get to see that there will be wet or Himalayan, wet temperate vegetation is seen, Himalayan wet temperate vegetation, and also थोड़ा सा नीचे की तरफ you will get to see moist deciduous type of vegetation. ठीक है? 86% of the vegetation is alpine in nature. बाकी के जो vegetation है, it is Himalayan wet temperate vegetation, moist deciduous vegetation, all these type of vegetation we get to see. Deciduous. ठीक है? Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, it will consist of important species, like you will have the red panda will be there. Now this red panda is different from the giant panda that is there on the logo of WWF. ठीक है? Red panda, it is a small animal that we get to see in the jungles of the northeast. So you will have red panda, you will have the Himalayan black bear, you'll have the snow leopard. So ऐसे important species will be there. Then you will also have blue sheep. So such kind of animals you will find over here. Over 4,500 species of plants will be found over here. Over 4,500 species of plants we get to see over here. Okay. Also we will get to see some types of high altitude birds. High altitude bird species. For example, we will have the monal pheasant, a beautiful looking bird, monal pheasant, also called as Himalayan monal. Okay, ये एक है. We'll also get to see the tragopan pheasant, again another high altitude bird, tragopan pheasant, monal pheasant. We'll also get to see another important bird called as the blood pheasant. और ये जो blood pheasant है, that is the state bird of Sikkim. Okay, so you'll have monal pheasant, tragopan pheasant, blood pheasant. This is the state bird of Sikkim. Similarly, हम लोग नीलगिरी तार के बारे में बात कर रहे थे. When we are talking about the Western Ghats, नीलगिरी तार, it is the state animal of Tamil Nadu. ठीक है, just in case उधर जगह है तो लिख के रख दो. नीलगिरी तार, it is the state animal of Tamil Nadu. It is a goat kind of species, Nilgiri tar of Tamil Nadu. What is the state animal of West Bengal? Yeah? Animal, not bird. Kingfisher, we have the wide-bellied kingfisher or wide-breasted kingfisher, which is our state bird of West Bengal. But what is the state animal of West Bengal? Royal Bengal is the national animal, and just for your information, none of the states have their state animal as the Royal Bengal tiger. और Royal Bengal tiger नाम का कुछ है ही नहीं, क्योंकि we have a species of tiger called as a Bengal tiger. Royal because it looks royal in nature. So अब से you do not say Royal Bengal tiger, ठीक है? We'll say Bengal tiger. तो इंडिया में ऊपर से नीचे तक जितने भी tigers है, all of them are Bengal tigers. We'll learn more about them. ठीक है? 3 subspecies of tigers had become extinct, etc. But it is Bengal tiger, that is the name of the actual species. Anyway, for West Bengal, the state animal is the fishing cat. It also comes under Schedule 1. In fact, just समझ के रखो, if anybody kills a fishing cat, he or she is eligible to be punished equally if he or she kills a tiger. मतलब killing a tiger is equal to killing a fishing cat, because both of them are, but we do not know that. Both of them are Schedule 1 species. ठीक है? We conclude our class for the day with this. Okay, so we'll talk further again tomorrow when we come. Any question that you have on this, abhi ke liye you can ask. Any question that you have, anything that you want to ask. No? Is it okay? Okay, we'll talk further. So we have revised a number of concepts apart from what was there in the news. So I would request you, okay, whenever you are studying something, kindly read around it, not just the topic itself. Okay? Read around the topic in a wholesome manner. Okay? Thank you.